Good afternoon. My name is Aisha Chugtai, and I'm the chair of the Budget Committee. I'm going to call to order our regular committee meeting for Monday, September 16th, 2024. Before we begin the meeting, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all council members, staff presenters, and the public that these meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. These broadcasts include real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll so we can verify the presence of a quorum.
Councilmember Payne.
Present.
Wansley.
Present.
Rainville.
Present.
Vitaud.
Present.
Ellison.
Here.
Osman.
Present.
Cashman.
Present.
Jenkins is absent. Chavez.
Present.
Chowdhury.
Present.
Palmisano.
Present.
Vice Chair Koski.
Present.
Chair Chugtai.
Present.
There are 12 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. I'll also remind my colleagues that we are going to be using speaker management today, so please make sure you sign in to be recognized. We have 3 items on our agenda today, colleagues, and we will begin with item number 1, which is a presentation on the 2024 second quarter financial status report on the result of select city funds. I'll invite Deputy Chief Financial Officer Ra Chuff to begin that presentation. Welcome.
Council Chair Chugtai, Council Vice Chair Koski, members of the committee, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Rod Choff. I am the new Deputy CFO for Finance and Property Services. Before I begin this quarterly second quarter presentation, I just want to take the time to acknowledge my colleague, Randy Hager, who is here in attendance, and also the full staff of the Controller Division. There has been recent transition within our division, and Randy and the team has really stepped up to help out with this second quarter presentation. I am filling in for our controller, who is starting next week. Our new controller, excuse me. The first slide up here is the financial highlights. I just want the full council and committee to know that in August of 2023, Fitch did upgrade the city's credit rating from AA+ to AAA. Standard & Poor's also confirmed this AAA rating. Just about a week and a half ago, myself with CFO Dushani Dai and the Treasury/bid team met with both Finch and Standard & Poor's to seek continual AAA rating. Of note, only about 9% of Minnesota cities that is rated by Standard & Poor's qualify for the AAA rating. Looking at parking revenues, we are seeing that parking revenues are rebounding and are projected to recover to near pre-pandemic levels. Local taxes are projected to exceed 2023 amounts for the 3rd consecutive year. Also, in regards to ARPA, the spend down is to plan for the end of 2024. In note of ARPA, we receive appropriation around 2021. In the past 3 years, the spend down is set for 2024. Having said that, the total book value of our cash and investments as the snapshot for June 30th, 2024 is approximately $1.1 billion. It's a slight 3% decrease of approximately $34.2 million from the June 30th of 2023 book value of $1.146 billion. Good news is that the city is meeting fund balance and net position and cash reserves minimum in all but just a few funds, notably the self-insurance fund, and that is due to the long-term liability actuary studies. While cash balance is pretty healthy at $160.4 million as of June 30th, 2024. Parking fund, our cash balance is projected to end the year below target due to transfers to other fund. Our targeted cash balance deficit is approximately $1.5 million. As far as property services, cash balance is projected to fall below the target amount by year end, and that's due primarily to capital repairs and delayed projects from the prior years. In the next couple of slides, I'm going to talk about the various funding for our enterprise. I would like to start first with the general fund. Laid out the purpose of this general fund is to account for all financial resources, except those that are required to account for other funds. Fund highlight, we are projecting 24 ending balance to be approximately $168.4 million. It's a slight decrease from the 2023 balance of $210.4, about $42 million. We are projected to exceed our 17 minimum fund balance policy. And our cash at year-end 2023 balance last year was $230 million, and our snapshot in June is approximately $57.9. This bar graph here illustrates the various components that makes up the general fund revenue. One of the major component is property taxes. We get our allocation twice a year, once in July and once in December. Also, the second category would be our state aid, and also franchise fees make a bulk of this as well. As you can see, this is just 2024 budget compared to projection. As far as an historical perspective here within the general fund revenue is projected to finish the year slightly lower than average. Our 24 projected revenue is going to be approximately 94.5 or closely to 95% of the budget amount, and over the past 3 years, revenue has finished at slightly above budget at 105%. If we can just go back to this previous slide real quick, what has swayed that is basically the state aid, because we had to recognize the revenue that was allocated to us in December of 2023 of $19 million. That swayed the percentiles. As far as general fund expenditure here, it looks like we will be pretty much in line to budget compared to projection. The largest increase that we saw was related to public safety, budget to projection. It's a slight increase. That's due to the labor costs and the settlements that has happened. As far as an historical perspective here, within 2024 expenditure, we're going to finish closer to budget than the average of the past 3 years. We're projecting to be roughly about 95% of the budget. Over the past 3 years, expenditures has fallen within about 94% of budget on average. The next fund is our special revenue funds. In the second bullet point there, the significant components of the special revenue funds are the convention center, the target center, MPD, neighborhood, grant funds, and community planning and economic development, in short, CPED. Highlight of this fund is we're going to be projected at year-end 2024, an increase compared to 2023, ending at approximately $425 million, or roughly $10.1 million of an increase. Total cash at year-end, our projection has us at $381 million, approximately $76 million decrease compared to 2023, in part due to spend down of the ARPA fund Keep in mind, the entire allocation was allocated to us in 2021 of $271 million in advance, and we will be spending that down in 2024. This slide here shows the components again of the special revenue funds as well as actual and projected. I just want the committee to focus on regulatory services. The reason why you're not seeing any projection in there is we actually closed out that fund last year. I kept it here because I wanted to illustrate the history behind it. Our next fund is the Internal Service Fund. This fund is used to account for goods services that we provide internally to other cities' funds and departments. Components of these funds include engineering materials, testing labs, property services, public works. Also, our self-insurance fund, which is combined of medical, dental, and workers' comp. The total net position at year end, we are forecasting approximately ending of 2024, $84.4 million. It's a slight decrease from 2023 year-end net position of approximately $1.2 million. Cash is projected at year-end to be approximately $196.4. It's about a $16 million increase from 2023. In this next slide here, just similar to the slide that was previously, it shows that 23 actuals projected and any increases, decreases between the various components of the internal services fund. Next up is our enterprise fund. This fund acts as more of like a business because its purpose of this fund is used to account for operation that sells goods and services to external third parties. Again, the significant components of this fund would be utility operations, sanitary, storm waters, and water utilities, as well as solid waste and recycling. The highlight of this fund, the total net projected at end of the year, approximately, it's going to be $1.1 billion. It's about $17.6 million increase from 2023 year-end net position. Projected total cash at year-end 2024, it's approximately 112. It's approximately $11.4 million increase from the 2023 year-end cash balance. Cash is stable in most funds. We have a planned decrease in storm and water due to capital spending drawdown. And in this slide here, just like the similar slides, we have the component of the various enterprise funds here. Also 2023 actuals with projections, also any increase and decreases. And I would take any questions if the committee has any.
Thank you for that presentation. Colleagues, are there any questions or comments related to the second quarter financial status report? I'll first recognize Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Council Vice President. I just had a question related to slide 12, specifically the self-insurance fund. I want to make sure that I'm reading this correctly. Is it reporting that the self-insurance fund has a net position of negative $50 million last year and then is on track to be negative for $54 million this year?
Chair Chuktai, Vice Chair Koski, Councilmember Wansley. Part of the reason why we are projecting that is because we continue to see long-term liability according to the actuarial report that was issued, I believe it was approximately a year or 2 years ago. We are accounting for that as well.
Okay, so that's the actuary report is guiding the figures, then the net. Okay.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Rainville, followed by Councilmember Cashman. If
Glad it wasn't on.
There we go.
I mispronounced your name. Thank you, Chair Chuck Tai. I do have a couple questions. So the parking fund transfers, where do you transfer that money into? How did that happen?
Through the chair, Councilmember Rainville, I apologize, I don't have the detail in front of me, but that is something that I can go back to the Controller Division accounting staff and get you.
clerks,
Okay.
clerks, if we can note that question for administrative follow-up.
Great. And then you had a slide with the fund balance, and you sort of decreased. What do you attribute that to?
It's through the chair, Councilmember Rainville, it's attributed to spend on ARPA and also the settlements that have been accounted for as well, as
Great.
also prior years' capital projects.
Okay, and I have one more for you. You had a slide too that just showed the overall revenues being lower. And do you have any thoughts on, you said it was the LGA, the state funding that's coming in lower?
It's through the chair, Councilmember Rainville. We had to do a revenue recognition of approximately $19.0 million in December of 2023 with the state aid. Also, within our franchise fee, we're pretty much projecting a lower revenue due to the mild weather we've been having as well.
Okay, so franchise fee, for those watching, that's your utilities, electric and natural gas, okay? But then the good news is we've had a 45% increase in the entertainment tax?
According to the projections that was sent.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll note that we've been joined by Councilmember Jenkins in this meeting, and next I will recognize Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Chugtai, and thank you, Deputy CFO, for the presentation. I'm wondering about the last slide, slide 14 on enterprise funds. Wondering if you can explain the difference between cash and net position for each of those categories of enterprise funds.
On this slide here within the enterprise fund, it's basically just our actuals that came in 2023 and also our projected 2024. Those projections, we do have a recommendation for our net position. I don't have the details right in front of me again, but I can go back to our controller division and accounting staff to lay it out some of those details for you.
Sure, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
And clerks, if we can note that for administrative follow-up as well, just a detailed understanding of what the net position means for each of those enterprise funds. Is that accurate, Councilmember?
Yes, that's accurate.
Excellent. And then next, I will recognize Council President Payne.
Thank you, Vice Chair Chuck Tai. I was curious if there is a capital plan for the Downtown Asset Fund. We had a discussion on BET about this, and it sounds like there's an internal committee that manages the Downtown Asset Fund. And I'd asked in BET if there was a list of any proposed investments in the coming years, if it's managed similar to our capital improvement plan. But do you know if any capital improvement plan exists for the Downtown Asset Fund? And if so, can we have it?
Through the chair, Council President Payne, I don't have the details in front of me, but I was in that meeting when Controller Lyle presented, and that is something I can go back to the team and get details on.
Great. Clerks, could we note that as a follow-up? Thank you. Thank you.
Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilmember Payne. I do appreciate you asking about this Downtown Asset Fund. It is kind of a great mystery to all of us, and if we're going to make informed decisions on the budget, we need to know where every penny is allocated to. So thank you for bringing that up.
Excellent. And Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair. I have one last follow-up on slide 14, which is that there's an acronym in the very bottom, GARFS. What does that stand for? GARFs? I Googled it, but I couldn't find it.
Through the chair, I apologize. It is related to GAP and GASB. That acronym, I don't fully know it right now on top of my head, but I do know what it means.
Sure. In the follow-up on this, the net position, can you also just explain what that acronym is? And it says it's invested with trustees through GARF. So, yeah, just curious what that's about.
Clerks, if we can note that for administrative follow-up as well. Colleagues, any further discussion or questions? I'm not seeing any. Thank you for that presentation, Deputy CFO. And with that, I will direct the clerks to file that report. And we are now ready. Thank you for your time. We are going to move to item number 2. Which is a resolution designating funds within the Neighborhood Safety Department's budget to reduce violence where homicides or second-degree assaults have occurred in the Lake Street Cultural District and the section of Lake Street from Cedar Avenue to Hiawatha Avenue. This item is being offered by Councilmember Chavez, so I will first invite him to introduce this item and make a motion.
Thank you, Chair Chuck Tai. I'm bringing forward this item in hopes of getting some safety support on the Lake Street corridor. This resolution would designate funds within the Neighborhood Safety Department budget to reduce violence where homicides or second-degree assaults have occurred on the Lake Street corridor district, as you mentioned earlier, in the section of Lake Street from Cedar Avenue to Hiawatha Avenue. This includes areas in Ward 6, Ward 8, Ward 9, and Ward 10, and the light rail on the Lake Street corridor. Over the past weeks and months, we have seen the lives of our community members taken senselessly here, lives taken away near 12th and Lake in Bloomington, and Lake in Cedar, and more. Additionally, over the past years, we have seen our trans and LGBTQ community members face acts of violence, along with an uptick of violence experienced by the Latino community members in the area and our residents in the corridor. The goal of this item would be for the Neighborhood Safety Department to spend funding on existing programs meant to do intervention, prevention, or healing to address the safety challenges we are seeing.
Councilmember Chavez, would you like to move approval of the item?
That is correct. I would love to move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
That item has been properly moved and seconded. Colleagues, are there any questions or discussion from the committee related to this item? First, I'll recognize Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Council Vice President. First, thank you, Councilmember Chavez, for authoring this. I'm going to be supporting it. I think it builds upon this ongoing conversation that we've been having for several months now around the challenges that a number of us have experienced in trying to work with the Office of Community Safety as well as Neighborhood Safety Department around deploying resources that we know are available to the actual areas of concern of where we're seeing upticks in particular violence, and yet our communication of these concerns seem to never be adhered to or addressed or followed up on. And I just want to note, that it should not have to take us having to specifically earmark funding within the Neighborhood Safety Department to deploy services to corridors, particularly the one that you named, that has been identified multiple times as needing resources and needing intervention. And, I know with this past budget cycle, Council allocated resources to the public safety to do public safety outreach in our cultural corridors for 2024, so this year. And Mayor Fry failed to administer those dollars, and we're having to play cleanup mostly throughout this year to try to get those services fulfilled and get that funding out the door. And, as a result, we really don't know how many lives could have been saved, or assaults or other traumatic experiences could have been prevented if the administration would have really follow through on the collaboration that we've been attempting to execute in getting these services to our communities so that they can be safer. So with that, I'm at least grateful that we do have this opportunity to make this allocation today and that we're using our budgetary authority to make sure that resources for prevention, intervention, and restorative services, all pillars of our new public safety system, is actually going to be able to go to residents at least on East Lake Street. So thank you for bringing this. And, I hope a number of us continue to build upon initiatives like this.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm wondering if the author could give a dollar amount. How much is this going to cost?
Thank you, Councilmember Rainville. Yeah, so the resolution is $200,000 within the Neighborhood Safety Department.
Okay. And I'm going to vote for this, so don't get me wrong here, okay? But people are getting shot on 35th and Penn Avenue North too. How does that fact reconcile with your request? And I appreciate you sticking up for your ward. You should.
Yeah.
But what about citywide problems?
Thank you, Councilmember Rainville. As I mentioned earlier, this would be in the areas of Ward 6, Ward 8, Ward 9, and Ward 10 in the Lake Street corridor, so it would be a variety of different council member wards. I purposely didn't just decide to designate these fundings in just Ward 9. I was purposeful in naming the cultural district, which has a variety of different wards. If there's a proposal for Lowry and North Minneapolis in general, I would be happy to support that proposal moving forward on a different vote as well. So if that helps answer it, if the item is before me, I would vote yes. Thank you.
That's the perfect answer. Thank you.
And then I see Councilmember Chavez is in queue for Councilmember Osman, so I'll recognize Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I appreciate Councilmember Chavez for bringing this forward. And I think I am really disappointed how Neighborhood Safety Department is handling the resource we're giving to them. I don't know how many times you heard me speak about Elliott Park issue. We have a lot of challenge Elliott Park. It was on the paper. It was reported by the neighbors that came here to spoke about it. I have been having this conversation with the Neighborhood Safety Department, especially the mayor and Commissioner Barnett, having this allegation, this money released to the community. We allocated this last year. It's been almost 12 months ago, and they're still sitting on it. And now we're talking about, how are we solving this issue? How are we addressing people that are hurting, people that are having some challenges, these areas that need the resources? For Councilmember Chavez to do this we might have to do that next in my neighborhood, because we got allocated money. We have $200,000 for public safety money at Elliott Park neighborhood. I don't know how many times I had a conversation with all the department leaders and the mayor. It has not been released. Last conversation I had was it will be released in January. We don't need it in January. We need it right now. Right now, it's the time where folks are out and it's warm temperatures that this neighborhood are hurting. So I have allocated enough money for Elliott Park to address some of the addiction and homelessness, of course, and also some other allocation for public safety. But I'm really disappointed that we can't get our act together and get this funding going. So that is the reality, and I want to address the public. That is the reality we're facing. I don't know how long it takes for a department to allocate a small amount of money to the neighborhood. I tried to do what Councilmember Rainville did and directly allocate to organization, but I was turned down. Thank you.
Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm not sure. I appreciate Councilmember Rainville for asking how much dollars, because that wasn't clear. But what is the allocation intended to do? And I think that question might be for Councilmember Chavez.
Councilmember Chavez, would you like to address Councilmember Jenkins's question?
Thank you, Chair Chuck Tai, and thanks for the question, Councilmember Jenkins. As I mentioned earlier, this funding is meant to go towards intervention, prevention, or healing to address the safety challenges we are facing on the Lake Street corridor, and specifically in areas where there has been second-degree assaults or homicides. I specifically left this very broad. That way, the Office of Community Safety, the Neighborhood Safety Department, can have flexibility in how to use this funding. But the reality is that in the areas that I mentioned earlier, in Ward 6, in Ward 8, in Ward 9, and in Ward 10, we are seeing significant public safety challenges. And we are saying that we want to see more support from our department here, and that's what it's going to do. So the commissioner, the Neighborhood Safety Department can decide to put violence interrupters in that area. They could decide to do some intervention or prevention services in the area, but it's purposely very broad, so the Neighborhood Safety Department can decide what they believe is the best use of city resources for safety in the area. So I hope that answers the question, but yeah.
Thank you. And then are these new dollars or existing allocation that is already allocated to do this broad work?
Thank you, Councilmember Jenkins. As I mentioned, this would designate funds within the Neighborhood Safety Department, so it would be existing dollars within the Neighborhood Safety Department.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Thank you. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Vito.
Thank you, Chair Chuck Tai. Thank you, Councilmember Chavez. I need to do the same thing. I'd love to sit down with you and figure out the playbook for this, because I have some huge challenges on Lowry Avenue and would love to bring the same thing forward the next council session, because it's a cultural corridor. I need some very specific services on that cultural corridor, and I've been working with staff, but it does feel like it's taking a really long time. I mean, a day is a really long time. It's not like they're holding me up, but it just does feel like it's taking some time to get the specifics met on that cultural corridor. So as soon as this meeting over, I'll be asking you who you met with, how you got this done. Thank you, Councilmember Rainville, for speaking up for the north side. You know, you said it greatly. There's challenges on 35th and Penn. It is not a cultural corridor, but Lowry is. And there are very many challenges on Lowry Avenue. And so I hope that my colleagues would support me in the exact same thing, and hope to bring it forward the next council cycle. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. And finally, I'll recognize Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also support this initiative, and I'm just curious because typically when you're going to move money around, you've worked with the department and there's generally a plan. I appreciate the kind of duality here of making something broad enough to be able to define it, but I'm sure you've had conversations then with the Neighborhood Safety Department and others that will start to do something here with that money. So is there an opportunity here to say more, if not about what specific initiatives are going to get underway rather quickly here because of this action, about what kinds of conversations you've had with the Neighborhood Safety Department and what some ideas might be, even if they're not firm?
Councilmember Chavez, would you like to address that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Chuck Tai. So I reached out to the Office of Community Safety for a meeting and have met with Jared from the Office of Community Safety, and based on our preliminary conversations, and that may change from the Office of Community Safety, but this would be using these funds for existing programs that would then be going and deployed onto the Lake Street corridor. I would love to see more violence interrupter resources in these particular areas where we have seen people being shot and being killed. I don't get to decide that necessarily. I can't tell staff, say this is what you get to do, but this resolution is saying this money is meant for this corridor for intervention, prevention, and healing. That can mean a variety of different city resources. I preferably would like to see violence interrupters in that particular part of Minneapolis, but again, I want to be respectful of OCS, making sure that they get to decide what they think is best in this corridor for this area, and I hope that when these resources are deployed, that it reduces the issues that we're seeing in the corridor. So,
Any further questions or comments, Councilmember Palmisano? Excellent. Any further questions or discussion from the committee?
I just have a quick question for Councilmember Chavez.
Go ahead,
Is there a
Councilmember.
timeline attached to this when the departments are able to act on this?
Councilmember Chavez, would you like to address Councilmember Osman's question?
Chair Chuktai, thank you so much, and thanks for that question, Councilmember Osman. There isn't, as long as we pass it, which there seems to be broad support. That's a good direction for the Office of Community Safety to hopefully move as quickly as possible. People are hurting there, and they need these resources as soon as possible. So,
Thank you.
Wonderful. Seeing no further discussion on Councilmember Chavez's motion to approve this item, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion carries. Colleagues, our third and final item today is a resolution transferring $1.5 million from the contingency account to the Community Planning and Economic Development Department to provide a grant for the rehabilitation of Agate's Board and Lodge Transitional Housing and Shelter Facility located at 510 South 8th Street, subject to conditions. This is being offered by Council Members Chavez, Osman, Council President Payne, and me. As the lead author, I will invite Councilmember Chavez to introduce and move approval of this item.
thank you, Chair Chuktai. I'll move approval of this item. Colleagues, on August 15th, 2024, the Board of Directors of Agate Housing and Services announced the closing of its 42-bed shelter program and 95-bed board and lodge program at 510 South 8th Street in downtown Minneapolis. This has come at a time when our community members are desperately asking our city for solutions and actions. I'm excited to bring this emergency funding forward for Agate Housing and Services Rehabilitation Project with Councilmember Osman, Council President Payne, and Council Vice President Chuktai. It's an effort to address unsheltered homelessness in the city and to help prevent the permanent loss of needed housing services in this city. As you may recall, on December 7th, 2023, the Minneapolis City Council and Mayor Jacob Frey declared unsheltered homelessness as a public health emergency. We have acknowledged that homelessness poses a significant public health crisis, exacerbating vulnerabilities and exposing unhoused individuals to severe health risks. The 510 shelter and 510 board and lodge provided critical shelter capacity and support to individuals experiencing homelessness. With their closure, there's an immediate reduction in available shelter space and needed transitional housing, further straining the city's capacity to meet the urgent need for safe, secure, and accessible shelter. Reopening the facility after renovation directly addresses this gap, immediately contributing to alleviating the public health emergency that we have before us. The 510 shelter and board and lodge offered essential services including harm reduction, basic needs and assistance, and stabilization and support for individuals experiencing homelessness. These services play a vital role, quite frankly, in mitigating the health risks associated with homelessness, such as exposure to extreme weather, untreated medical conditions, and mental health crisis. In the context of a declared public health emergency, maintaining the continuity of these services is crucial. Reopening the facility ensures that individuals who previously relied on these services are not left without critical support, and this would reduce the risk of adverse health conditions. The population served by the 510 shelter and board and lodge often include individuals with complex needs, such as those experiencing mental health issues, substance use disorders, or chronic medical conditions. These individuals are particularly vulnerable to the adverse effects of homelessness, including increased mortality rates, severe illness, and trauma. The city's designation of homelessness as a public health emergency underscores the urgency of protecting these vulnerable populations, and reopening the 510 after renovation ensures that the city upholds its commitment to addressing the emergency and support those greater at risk. Now that this body has declared that issue an emergency, before you today is an emergency funding proposal, which is a $1.5 million grant that is coming from our contingency fund, which will be contingent upon Agate Housing and Services securing at least $1.5 million in additional funds by December 31st, 2025 to rehabilitate its facility. Colleagues, this is an emergency and resources we cannot risk losing in Minneapolis permanently. The timeline noted on the resolution is out of respect to CPED to ensure that paperwork has enough time to be completed, as well as the funding, which I believe can be completed before then. The replacement of these units would cost upward of to $30 million if we were to try to build new units in the city, which is why this action is even more important. Preventing the permanent closure of this site is not only a practical and cost-saving move, but most importantly, it's the moral and right thing to do. Why not leverage $1.5 million to preserve these needed resources and contribute our part as a city? There is strong interest in helping fund this project as long as government takes meaningful steps, and I strongly believe that the action we take today is showing those meaningful steps. If passed, the building repairs will take 6 to 12 months, so even with these funds, the building is still slated for closure on the October 9th timeline. However, instead of it being a permanent closure and the permanent loss of resources, it would be the temporary closure and a temporary loss of resources. And it would help us better prepare for next winter, along with new services that could help us tackle this crisis we are facing. I do not support denying this action or voting down this proposal to allow for an undetermined timeline to proceed. I do not support delaying any actions towards the end of the year for the budget markup process either. While the building will close for 6 to 12 months, the determination to close the building permanently could be made soon if there is inaction. In fact, a decision to close was already made, but given the importance of this issue to Minneapolis residents, we are trying to reverse course of that action. And without this action, it could mean that next winter we will have less services for our unhoused residents. And it could mean that this building gets sold for other purposes because of a lack of funds to secure its rehabilitation. When I think of next year, and specifically next winter, I know that I want to have more resources for our unhoused residents, not less. And supporting this move today allows us to go towards that route. There are also other added incentives to the revitalization of this project, and it's making sure that downtown does not have empty buildings. When Agate secures the additional funds for a full rehab, which I am confident they will, it hopes to reopen its board and lodge program as soon as repairs are complete. Let's save city resources and let's leverage those private dollars. If the building is safe, there would be an opportunity to look more deeply at programs that could benefit clients served there. Other options for the space could include an emergency winter shelter, which we know we will need desperately next winter, medical respite housing in the rooms vacated by the new shelter operations, and a return to the in-house recovery services previously offered by the former House of Charity. Members, I ask for your support on this important and critical service for the city of Minneapolis. Thank you.
Thank you. This item has been moved by Councilmember Chavez, and a second is assumed as this resolution has multiple authors. Is there any discussion or are there any questions from members of the committee? I see several members in queue, so we will begin with Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Vice President Chugtai. I accidentally put myself in queue, but I am curious. Can we get a definition of the contingency fund, its uses, how we access that fund? And I'm not sure if the city attorney can answer that or maybe the CPAD director, but someone.
I can begin, and then I'll recognize Deputy City Attorney Nielsen to continue. Per the city's financial policies, we set aside about 1% of the city's general fund as contingency to be appropriated by the council throughout the year for unexpected expenses or emergent expenses, and that is approximately that accounts for approximately $7 million on an annual basis. Deputy City Attorney, anything to add to that?
Thank you, Chair Chugtai. That's correct, and I'll just read the statement from the financial policies for everyone. It's relatively short. It's policy number 5.1, and it notes that adequate operating contingency reserves shall be maintained to provide for business interruption costs and other unanticipated expenditures of a non-recurring nature. Each year, the city shall budget an operating budget contingency of not less than 1% of all budgeted general fund expenditures in each of the applicable years planned for in the city's 5-year financial direction. So if you read that sentence, it does state to provide for business interruption costs and other anticipated expenditures of a non-recurring nature. So those have to be construed together. It doesn't say or other anticipated expenditures. I believe staff has been consistent in noting that this has been interpreted to mean unanticipated losses or unanticipated costs where there is a need to get money out the door quickly to address, and some have said an emergency, but I think going hand in hand with the emergency is some degree of imminence, urgency, necessity to use contingency. I can't give you more perspective on past use of it in terms of precedent. That would be something the finance office and CFO would have to do about how the city has used it, how much in the past. I'm not informed on that part of it.
Thank you for that response, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. And then just to add to that, a couple of examples of times when we have used contingency funds. In the last term, there was a motion by a combination of council members, Koski and Chavez, and potentially some others. My memory is not serving me right now, but to allocate some money for Aviva Villages as a match to state funds, and it was contingent on receiving that allocation from the state. And then another example is the IM Expo. The council appropriated a pretty significant amount of resources to near the end of the planning on that event. And with that, I will recognize Council Member Chowdhury.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be supporting this item today. I just want to thank the authors for their quick work on this and thank our city staff for also being quick to work on this and put this together. I thought it was really wise to put this together in a way that is looking at a match. I think the city leaning forward and saying that we are a part of solving unsheltered homelessness and homelessness in our city and putting it out in this way really incentivizes a match and leveraging those private dollars that Councilmember Chavez talked about. I also want to note that we did declare that this is a public health emergency, and currently in this emergency, in a moment where we should be able to build more shelter, more types of housing options, we're in a place where we're losing them. And that is something that should be underscored as a part of this emergency. And so I just commend this body for considering this item to save this really important asset, this important tool. The way that I look at it is if you have a house burning down and you are actively trying to stop the fire, stop the spread, and try to help save what you can, you're not going to start turning off fire hoses. You're going to start thinking about how you can maintain what you have available to you and how you can add more and what other responses look like so you can best help everyone that is impacted. I also want to say for us not to do this today would be, in my view, short-sighted, and I think that was really laid out by Councilmember Chavez in naming that the time is now in putting this funding forward. Without us putting this forward, we're looking at a closure and then no reopening, and that is just not something I, in good conscience, feel like if I have an opportunity to make a difference here, can pass up in making a difference on. So just thank you again to everyone that was a part of putting this together.
Thank you. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Chugtai, and I want to thank Councilmember Chavez and all the other co-authors for putting this together. I absolutely support us stepping in here to prevent the permanent closure of this transitional housing and shelter facility, especially given that Agate is such a trusted operator. But I'm concerned about the displacement of the folks in this interim period, 6 to 12 months before it can be reopened. And I wonder if any of the authors can speak to what your conversations have been around the folks that are living there now that are going to be, kicked out as of October 9th when this shelter closes.
Councilmember Chavez, would you like to address Councilmember Cashman's question?
Thank you, Chair Chugtai, and thanks for the question, Councilmember Cashman. My understanding is that they are currently working on a by name list, making sure that they can move and transition folks that are going to be impacted into different shelters and different housing services. So they're working really hard on that timeline. I understand the concerns and happy to make a connection with folks at Agate to have a conversation of how we can better support the workers there and folks experiencing unsheltered homelessness that will be impacted.
Thanks. I just want to highlight that, next week in the Biz Committee, we are going to be taking up 2 new recuperative care facility sightings in our community, one at 918 West Lake Street and one at 1801 Nicollet. And it is difficult to site new facilities, and it is difficult to, justify these new operators that are coming onto the scene. But we do need more shelters in our communities. We need more transitional housing. We need more supportive housing. We need more treatment centers. We need more places for people who are experiencing homelessness to be able to live and get well and address their public health issues that they're experiencing. So I'll be supporting this today, and I'm eager to continue a conversation about how to get more facilities into our city next week in Biz too.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've spent the past week having a lot of fairly urgent conversations with a lot of people. I want to thank Kyle Hansen, the CEO of Agate, in honoring a conversation with that, and Councilmember Chavez for the conversations we've had, and also some of our other housing partners, particularly some of the partners at the county. I need to point out that while the term emergency isn't outlined in statute, that's up to all of us to decide what is an emergency and what we would spend contingency dollars on. I think we need to have more impulse control. And let me go into a little bit of why. This shelter and lodge function is closing on October 9th, no matter what. In that time, I appreciate that the plan for the shelter part was always to move to an alternate location. And I understand that moving the lodging function currently at about 50% capacity is ongoing, and that the county is helping to make sure that everybody is relocated somewhere. Having taken an opportunity to speak with the county since reading about this on the front page of the newspaper, I learned a lot more about the lodge system. It's a system that that people pay almost like a hotel function. It actually has a hotel license in our city. So it doesn't have a lease, but people pay to stay there. And it really importantly serves a gap in our shelter and other types of deeply affordable housing opportunities. That gap includes people coming out of incarceration. That gap includes people waiting for housing vouchers that need to be 30 days sober before they can enter other types of housing. But it was interesting to learn that this specific program isn't one that has garnered a lot of attention, and that the county typically has vacancies across their system for this type of lodge housing. That surprised me, and it might surprise you as well. Also surprising to me was to learn that just 2 years ago, Agate didn't apply for the exact type of housing through the county when the county was giving out ARPA dollars, federal COVID money, specifically for this board and lodge function. They were not an applicant. So it's important for me to say, as others will say, I think otherwise, that I am fully in support of the long-term redevelopment of a building downtown here. But is it an emergency when it's closing anyway? It's not. I'd much rather spend money to rehab an old building than build exorbitantly priced new units for the same function. Councilmember Chavez and I very much agree on that, as do probably many of us here. I'm guessing we can, as a community, rehab these units less expensively than we're helping to build new ones out there. That's important. Also enlightening was to learn about how many other affordable and deeply affordable housing buildings are struggling, deeply struggling. We've heard that the cost of insurance is way up. The costs of building security are up. It's hard to find building managers. It is hard for me to say that Agate should step in front of places that are our other community partners, like Common Bond, Aon, Catholic Charities, St. Anne's. All of them could desperately use $1.5 million of funds right now from the government. But the good news is this: there are other housing entities willing and interested to come to the table here. I'll highlight just one. This weekend, I had an opportunity to speak to the head of a major housing fund, and they said they'd be interested in participating after they go in and do a capital needs assessment. Yes, we should be there too. Wouldn't that be useful for us to all know as well? This director is being thoughtful. We have the same goals here. If we can stabilize and assist with the long-term rehabilitation of a downtown building for this purpose, we should know if it will bring long-term sustainability to that building type. And then we should fund it through CPED accordingly. I don't see how rehabbing a long-term building function is suddenly an emergency. I'm not sure how it didn't even apply for this specific funding just 2 years ago. So the idea of inviting this action as our process just doesn't feel very equitable. And I think as a legislative body, our world has to be a little bit larger than this. We have an affordable housing trust fund. We, like the county, have competitive processes out there because there is a lot of need. And right now, we're looking at making a financial decision here without doing the work. And there are many worthy causes out there. Supporting this over others is literally letting them jump the queue, and there is no process around this. So we need a grant application process or an RFP for a pool of funding that gives all the partners an opportunity to do this and to look at it in an equitable way. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very well spoken, Councilmember Palmisano. I want to support this whole idea. I'm just having a problem with how the funding is, and believe me, I'm looking down the dais here at all my younger council members. Brother DePaul's House of Charity began its life on Nicollet Island when I was in high school at De La Salle, and I would go over there and volunteer. So I find it ironic that I'm in a position today to help support them, and I want to do that. But it's a lot smarter to fix up what we have, and that's what we should be doing, but we don't have all the information we need. And in particular, I am not convinced that the contingency fund is the way to go. We have a lot of dollars in that Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and I see some brilliant minds from our CPED staff there, and it would be great if staff had time to come back and tell us what type of waiver is necessary, if indeed a waiver is necessary, and what the process should be to apply. Because I'm in conversations with a housing, low-income housing provider in my neighborhood in Ward 3, and they need the help too. They have all kinds of needs, but how can I justify voting for this when we're skipping over what they need? So I would like to have us all think, I'm not going to vote for this today. Maybe I can get there by the time we meet again on Thursday, but we need to think of a better way to fund this and to keep just to keep that idea alive that it's a lot more cost effective to fix up what we have than it is to build new. And this is the perfect project to use that as an example when we have the right funding source. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Chavez in queue for Councilmember Osman.
Thank you so much. My colleagues, if you don't think we are in emergency or crisis, I encourage you to visit South Central Minneapolis. Come visit Ward 6. Come with me today. I'll show you there's encampments everywhere in the neighborhood. And as we know, encampments do not provide safe and dignified housing. So we are in crisis. We have been in crisis for the last 4 years. So this is a perfect money to use to actually get ahead of the more crises we will face in the future. I really thankful our staff the housing staff, the director of CBED, and the work they have been doing for many, many years to continue to support affordable housing, low-income housing for residents. They do their part. But sometimes we face crisis. Sometimes we lose shelters, 42 beds, 95 bed and board large. My question, how do we get here? Why are we not ahead of the game and make sure that the providers, and I'm thankful, there's a lot of housing providers out there, the providers who continue to come forward and say, we're working with the government agencies, we're providing services, we want to help people. They need our support. And it's for us to support them. And I hope and I wish that we were able to get ahead of this and make sure that we would never have to come here at this place. So just to remind you, we do have crisis. And over here, and many times in this diocese, we talk about encampments and we complain about encampments. There will be more encampments if we lose shelters and shelter beds. So I think this is a perfect way of using, and I want to thank my colleagues for really getting ahead of the winter, ahead of the time that next year we have more shelters and more shelters available for many residents that are struggling. Some of you might not deal with encampments, but I feel like my job become just dealing with encampment and really dealing with people that are overdosing, shooting that taking place in that area, very unsafe area, and that are creating unsafe and even maybe future homeless for the residents that live there, because now they are dealing with expenses and what comes around living encampments. We know and we all understand encampments are not safe. The folks that live there and the folks that live around the encampments. So encampments only pop up in some wards, some specific wards. And we know where those wards are. Those are poor, a minority area, because they feel a sense of community. People are camping there and coming there. There's no option for them. Yes, I understand there are folks that are struggling with addiction and mental health, and that is a barrier for them accepting housing. That is noted. But I'll tell you one thing, having more shelters is better than having none or having less. So again, thank you, and I hope you support this so we can get ahead of the crisis that we have been dealing for the last 4 years.
Thank you. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair. I, too, had lots of conversations last week. In particular, I had one with the CEO, Kyle Hansen, about the project, the work that they're doing. I actually had a really good conversation with him about what this looks like moving forward. He shared his concerns, and of course I share mine. The first thing is, I don't think this is like, I don't think people get cleared out of encampments and get put into this housing. I think this is like reentry housing, or like identify people with specific needs that go into this. This isn't like the Harbor Lights. This is a very specific program that's housed out of this facility. And then secondly, I personally think it's short-sighted to make a decision about this today after talking with Kyle. There are going to be no persons displaced because of this. And the idea that this construction project could even be finished next winter, we don't really know that. I mean, if you've gotten a toilet fixed, you know that the timeline that they give you is not always the timeline for this. So I get it. We don't want people to be out in winter, but we don't know for sure. And the additional funding that he's hoping to receive, if we fund the project, I don't know if that actually exists. I heard him say that there are some groups who have said they will put in if the city of Minneapolis puts money in, but there is no timeline to when the city of Minneapolis can put in. I'll say I'm not against funding this. I don't like how it's being funded. I don't like it coming out of the contingency fund. I think we can work with staff in the mayor's office and figure out where to pull this money from. I've had a lot of groups reach out to me and ask, how did Agate get pulled to the front of the list? And they have concerns, and they would have loved to know how they could get bumped to the front of the list. And, these are groups that I've said, hey, you got to apply for this or wait till, this funding comes up. And Agate told me that they had a $5 million bill at the state this year, that because of what we all saw the fallout there, it didn't get voted on. And I asked Kyle, would they be going back for the money at the beginning of the new session, and would they ask for less, or what would they do? This project won't be ending before the next session, so we have that. But I just want to say, overall, I want to be supportive of this. I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle of compromising, and I just want to find the money from somewhere else because I don't want to set the precedent. If someone comes to me and say they want to do this, I want to be able to find the money, but I don't want to find it in this way, especially with the budget process coming up. I've been doing a lot of work in my ward to navigate through the budget process, to teach my constituent how the budget process works. So it's kind of I don't know, I don't want to say weird, but that's a Minnesota word, right? So it's kind of weird to have this before us right now when they've watched a week of budget meetings and see, now we're in the process and we're figuring out where to put money. So I really would like an opportunity to either bring a legislative some type of legislative directive forward by Thursday to figure out somewhere, to go to staff and say, hey, find the money somewhere else. But we really want to do this, or to speak with the mayor and their teams and say, is there somewhere else we can get this money outside of contingency? And if we can figure that out, I'm a yay. I'm for sure supportive of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Council Vice President Chuck Ty, and I just have a couple of comments. So last week in the Public Health and Safety Committee, we took up consideration of the encampment removal reporting ordinance, and there was a lively conversation and debate on how both the council and the city could show up better towards responding this growing, crisis of homelessness. And while there was lots of things where we did not have agreement on, where I did hear shared agreement amongst committee members was the understanding that council should be seeking humane, effective, and concrete solutions towards this issue. And this motion to support the preservation of one of the city's key housing and shelter providers and social service providers for our vulnerable residents, this motion represents that concrete solution that I kept hearing about us wanting to seek last week. And I've actually had, many constituents reach out and urge me to support this funding. So I will be voting yes on it. It very much fits in alignment with the housing first approach, which means we should be using a variety of methods, including passing policies, allocating funding, creating programs towards initiatives that are already working. And this is a clear opportunity for us to invest in a shelter that has been a huge benefit to our city and community and providing housing to dozens of people who otherwise might be living in encampments. So I just want to thank Councilmember Chavez for leading this work, as well as Councilmember Osman, President Payne, and Vice President Chuck Ty. Just a couple things too, and related to the issues that I've heard be raised in this conversation thus far. So the concerns around the source of funding. Our contingency fund is separate from our general fund or budget process. The contingency fund has over $6 million in it right now that has been untouched. And this is separate also from any existing department programs, like I heard the Affordable Housing Trust program, which already has been allocated through the mayor's and city's budget process. Those projects that have been routed through that program, those are committed. Those dollars are committed. Our contingency fund is literally untapped dollars for initiatives just like this. And I also encourage council members to read the exact language of the RCA that Councilmember Chavez submitted, because one thing that I keep hearing is this money is, it's impulsive. What if they don't receive a match? The language in the RCA literally says this allocation will only move forward based on if Agate is able to secure other matching dollars. So this also means that Agate has to also have skin in the game in order to receive these dollars, just as what we did and receive unanimous support on when it came to Avivo Village last year. So this is not a free giveaway. This also notes that Agate is going to have to do what they've already been doing and seeking out additional partners to support their renovation so that they can be fully reopened. And this is the city putting up a very small portion saying that we support you in that process. And we hope that we're able to make this all work out so that we can keep this as a resource in our city, because we all have seen or have all communicated concerns about the growing encampment populations across our city. So I just want to highlight that piece. And I really hope, since we're talking about budget, I see a number of budget amendments from my colleagues that does address either allocating more funding to initiatives like the Affordable Housing Trust, which is largely committed right now, and I believe did not receive additional proposal through the mayor's 2025 budget. I hope to see budget proposals that do allocate more resources to homelessness services and initiatives. Those are things I really look forward to, and I hope my colleagues bring forward. But a process in December does not have to then be the place or be weaponized against us taking action on something that can largely address a crisis right now. It's a both and approach that I often hear about from many of my colleagues, of wanting to seek a both and option. You could both support this motion and bring a variety of funding proposals to support other initiatives, because it's going to take a wide range of methods and tactics to address this crisis. So this should feel technically like something that would receive unanimous support, as we've done it before. And it does require contingency amongst Agate and other matching partners. But this should be a no-brainer. It's a very common sense option for us to explore. And again, thank you to council members for actually giving us a concrete opportunity to take action on this matter today.
Thank you. Next, I'll recognize Vice Chair Koski.
Thank you, Madam Vice President Chuktai. For me, this is an absolute yes. And I don't need to go through a list of reasons. I think my colleagues have given many, many reasons of why we should be supporting this today. And I'm actually shaking just actually thinking about the fact that we're arguing and disputing about this today. This moment calls for us to work together, and it will support residents that are most need our help today. It's going to save us as the city and other organizations millions and millions of future dollars. We must today solve this emergent issue that we have at hand. We have the tools and we have a plan to do this. And today, I know that this will move forward. And as CM Cashman brought up, I think after this passes, what we all should be doing is working together to support the residents who will be temporarily displaced. And that should be our next top priority. And again, we should work together on that. And so today, I request, if the authors are willing, I'd like to be added as a co-author. Thank you.
Councilmember Chavez.
We would love for you to be a co-author, Councilmember Koski.
Thank you.
Excellent. And next I'll recognize Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't want to be speaking across one another here. Something that was just said after me before is that we're going to have more people in encampments if we don't save this specific building. That's not true. Councilmember Vita explained this, but also that's not true per the county, who funds Agate through DHS. I think they know what they're talking about. This building is at about 50% capacity, and again, there are vacancies for this type of housing across their system. I need to point out that spending contingency dollars will increase future taxes for residents across the city. I just want to speak to the idea of a budget process because it exists for a reason. Our city budget process is something many of you on this council have spent considerable time on. I won't lecture you on it. But a different take than what my colleagues just said, this is a way we have stability year to year by not spending it. The contingency fund is not separate from the budget process. Contingency money is a balance of choices and of competing needs. It's not free, it's for emergencies. I don't consider an emergency to be that a private single funder is willing to put in the next couple or few $1,000,000 so long as the city goes first. I think that if the public wants to help fund this, there should be a way for people to privately contribute, and there probably is. I'm not here to guarantee their taxpayer dollars for something that today is very unclear, with no capital needs assessment yet. Don't get me wrong, I would be up for doing this in a considered way in balance with other projects. It would be from our CPED budget. Contingency dollars are meant for emergencies. Tornadoes in North Minneapolis, additional snow emergencies than were budgeted for, and they have a very high threshold for their use. Contingency dollars are not used. Contingency dollars, when they're not used, spend down the next budget levy. This will have a direct impact on next year's levy, and we need more impulse control on how we're going to use this money because it's not within our budget. It's spending outside of our budget. Last year, the mayor and the city, along with other cities and our county, proposed public safety aid from the state to be used for recruitment and retention bonuses for officers. That proposal did not win the day once it came to city council, and I'm at peace with that now, but it sure stung in the moment. But the words used to kill that proposal ring pretty loudly and ironically in my ear today. The budget chair talked about the people of Minneapolis deserve better, and then the role of council. The budget chair at the time balked at a letter of agreement outside our budget process, which is what this is today. They said, one of my duties as a council member is to hold people in power accountable, so when people come with a proposal, they have questions. And frankly, we all should. We all should be having those questions here today. The chair concluded that speech, which rings so loudly and ironically in my ear, to say that I think what we all need to hear today, this sense of urgency around spending this funding, is a manufactured sense of urgency. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Palmisano. Just to be clear, contingency dollars do not roll over year after year. They are reappropriated in every single budget when we appropriate it at the end of the year. So what we don't spend out of that $7 million doesn't just go over to next year. Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Chugtai. As I mentioned earlier, other options, if we save this building, which I believe we do, we can do it, could include opening an emergency winter shelter by next winter. That's clearly a very good thing. It is something that we desperately need. It's something that our residents in the city of Minneapolis are hungry for, that they are asking for. Let's just vote. Let's show our residents that they matter.
Finally, I see Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to clarify for the public that an affirmative vote on this today does not in any way guarantee that this building will be renovated and reopened. It's dependent on other dollars coming forward, which in the Avivo case, which we allocated money, those dollars did not come forward. Roof Depot, we allocated resources. We reached a agreement, and those dollars didn't come forward. There's no guarantee that this organization that has had trouble getting resources will be able to come forward with those resources. So I just want to be clear that if this passes today, there is no guarantee that Agate Housing, or, I'm sorry, what's the address? 510?
510 South 8th Street.
Will reemerge a year from now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. And finally, I'll recognize Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Chuck Tai. Councilmember Jenkins is correct. It does not guarantee that Agate will have the $1.5 million ready to go, although I am very confident that they will. In the case of Avivo Village, it was a matching requirement. The city never actually released the funding because the state of Minnesota never gave Avivo the match. So the city never lost that funding stream. In this instance, if Agate isn't able to secure the match, the city will not deploy those dollars. However, as I mentioned earlier, I am fairly confident that Agate will have these resources ready to go before that timeline as necessary. So I understand the concerns that Councilmember Jenkins has, but I just want to make sure that I say it out loud. I'm confident that we will have this money. The money will not be deployed, so we would not be releasing those dollars unless those contingencies are secured. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Palmisano, followed by Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to clarify with the clerk, all we're doing today is sending this vote to full council, at which a minimum 10 votes is needed to secure this funding. So a majority, my understanding, Mr. Clerk, is that a majority vote today moves this forward to full council, at which then 10 votes are necessary because that's the threshold for use of contingency dollars. Is that correct, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, Madam Chair, to Councilmember Palmisano's question, the action before this body today is to make a recommendation to the City Council, as with all agenda items at committee, and that requires a simple majority vote.
Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask Councilmember Chavez why he's so confident, because I met with Kyle on Friday, and I'm not saying I'm not confident, but I just didn't get any information that led me to believe that for sure he has the additional money, the match money. He did say that an anonymous donor or someone said that they would if some government, he did not say the city, he said that a government agency put in money. I thought that was very specific, but I would love to know where what have you talked about or heard that makes you so confident, please.
Yeah, I believe, thank you, Council Vice President Chuck, I apologize. I believe in Minneapolis. I believe that residents in the city and our partners will step up if needed, and if this body decides to prioritize this project, making sure that there is no permanent closure. I believe that this city cares about our unhoused residents. I believe that this city cares about addressing unsheltered homelessness, and I think that the city is serious about wanting their elected officials to stand up and fight for their residents. So that enough in itself makes me confident that they will get this done.
I'm not seeing any further discussion, so I will direct the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Rainville.
No.
Vita.
No.
Ellison.
Aye.
Osman.
Aye.
Cashman.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Nay.
Chavez.
Aye.
Chowdhury.
Aye.
Palmisano.
No.
Vice Chair Koski.
Aye.
Chair Chuktai.
Aye.
There are 9 ayes and 4 nays.
That item carries and will be forwarded to the City Council this Thursday for final consideration. Where, as the clerk indicated earlier, per City Charter Section 4.4A, 4I, a 3/4 membership of this body is required to authorize to authorize this item. That means 10 members need to vote in the affirmative in order for this to be approved on Thursday. I see Councilmember Wansley in queue for our priority motion.
Oh, no, just separate. Make sure you wish Councilmember Cashman a happy birthday. Yeah, no, you really thought you was going to get out of this. Yes.
I thought I had escaped.
No, you did not.
Because
You
my
have
birthday's
not.
on the weekend.
No, you
Thank
did
you.
not. What I will spare you is singing. We'll do that on Thursday.
Perfect.
I got
Excellent.
superstar Fita.
And with that, colleagues, we have concluded all business to come before the committee today, and without objection, we stand adjourned until Monday, September 23rd at 10 a.m., where we will receive presentations from the Community Planning and Economic Development Department, along with the Regulatory Services Department. The presentations for these departments are not in LIMS yet, but they will be, and I would just encourage you, as both of these departments are appropriated a significant budgets and responsibilities, I'd recommend reviewing their presentations prior to the 23rd and sending any questions you'd like them to be prepared to address ahead of time if possible. Thank you all.